Thank you to all my channel members, including my fan appreciation level members and my contributor level members, for helping support the YouTube channel. Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book Star Wars Medstar 1 Battle Surgeons by Michael Reaves and Steve Perry. Yes, Steve Perry. Not the band guy, Steve Perry. So this is the first book in a duology, the Medstar duology that they wrote together. And I picked this up because one of my friends, actually a couple of my friends actually, wrote glowing reviews of this. They loved it. They thought this was a great series, one of their favorite series in the Clone Wars. And the Clone Wars books have been hit or miss, mostly miss for me. And so I was like, you know what? I'm excited. Books that they, give the ringing endorsement. I was also really excited for this book because last month in December, I read Darth Maul's Shadowhunter, and it was my favorite Star Wars book that I'd read that year of 2024. It is an amazing thriller, fast-paced, great writing, great characters, great everything. And I loved this book so much. So I was like, man, Michael Reaves, I'm excited. I have a bunch more books of him. He wrote like 8 Star Wars books, or I think he personally wrote 4, and then he co-wrote 4. But still, I was like, I have all these Michael Reaves books to get, so I'm starting with this one. And I'm sorry to say, I didn't particularly like this one at all. This book, I think, suffers from being a polar opposite of Shadowhunter. The plot is paper thin in this book. The plot is very minimal and not exciting. There is a plot, certainly, but it is so minimal and non-exciting that it didn't drive me reading to want to continue because I want to continue the book. It's because I need to finish this up. So that was the first problem. The second problem is because it's so slow with its story, it really takes a lot of time to get to know the characters, which the general axiom is, if you have amazing characters and a poor plot, your book can still be considered good. But the characters didn't particularly work well for me. I thought the character of Jaws, who I would say is probably considered the main character here, he was fine. He was well done. I empathized with him a little bit. I also thought the character of Den, the reporter, I thought he was also kind of interesting. And then, of course, Barriss has a few interesting moments in this book, and so does Admiral Blade, B-L-E-Y-D, Blade. Anyway, Admiral Blade, he had some interesting moments in this book, and also there's like a spy plot. So like there were some interesting moments, to be sure, and the book tackles interesting themes, but I never really connected with the characters. And maybe a lot of this will be fixed in the sequel. Maybe when I read the sequel next month, which is like it's the second part of the duology, maybe I will feel like, hey, this was worth the read. But as of right now, those characters just didn't really super connect with me that much, and I'm really sad that he didn't because the plot itself was so thin. There is a murder mystery, but it's not that interesting a murder mystery. I kind of knew who it was, and who it was didn't particularly matter that much. It didn't feel like you were gonna, like, who was the murderer was gonna have that much weight on the story. There's also kind of a spy thing going on where different spies are spying on the surgeons, and there's also stuff with Admiral Blade because he's in league with like the Black Sun Syndicate, and just that stuff just didn't work for me. It just didn't work. I wanted it to, but it just wasn't entertaining. And then you have, the one thing that did work for the book, I'll give it some positives. One thing that did work is I loved the references to Shadowhunter. There were like 2 scenes in particular where this droid is just bearing his soul, although droids don't have soul, but a droid is just recounting the events of Shadowhunter, and you see the toll it's taken on the droid and how he feels so bad that he's lost his friends, and that worked really well in this book. Also worked really well was the scenes where you're seeing the toll that being a surgeon in a battle scenario, surgeons on the battlefield. You see the toll that it takes. You see the need for gallows humor, for dark humor. You see the need for coping mechanisms. You see the need for keeping a positive attitude and continue to work even when bad things are happening. And you see the difficulty of letting a clone trooper or letting someone die that you can't save. And some of those ideas were really interesting. but the story around them just wasn't. And so if you just have a few interesting ideas and concepts, and even in a few individual scenes that are cool, because like Barris has some awesome scenes with Luminar and Dooley. She has some pretty cool scenes with another fighting character, Foji, but like it didn't make an interesting story, which is why I just couldn't connect with it. And I didn't love the characters, so therefore I was like, okay, I'm just going through the motions. So overall, not a ringing endorsement, sadly. Didn't particularly like this one. Maybe the sequel will make it better, and maybe it'll turn out that this should have just been one book and all the awesome stuff was saved for the second one. But for right now, I didn't particularly care for this one. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 10, so really low. I'm sorry, I just didn't like it. However, I still recommend, if you want more books from Michael Reaves, Shadowhunter was an amazing book. Fantastic book, tightly plotted, great plot, great story, great characters, great vibes, great the tone. All that stuff was great there, but not this one. So if you've read Star Wars Medstar 1, Battle Surgeons, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.